It's 100% entertainment, 100% electricity, 100%.
Pipebomb Radio with your host, Felix Olmedo.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man.
And Austin James.
That's the bottom line. From stone to stone.
Welcome, everybody, to a very special edition of Pipebomb Radio tonight as we interview and we kick off Legends Month for the month of September. Tonight we have a very special guest joining us to talk about his book, his Kickstarter account, and the success it is seen in just a very short amount of time. I am joined this time with Nate. Austin is running a little late. That's unlike him, but I'm sure he'll be calling in here in just a moment. I want to give him about 2 minutes or so before I contact Mr. Harris, Mr. James Kamala Harris. He will be joining us, and it'll be fun. I've talked to him a couple times over the last 2 weeks. Very, very nice man, and I can tell you now, they've reached the goal for his Kickstarter. What do you think about that, Nate? What do you think about this outpouring of love for Kamala?
I think that is awesome. This is a great way to kick off Legends Month, and so many times we forget the people that entertained us when we were kids, the people that brought us so many hours of delight, whether it was Friday night or Saturday morning, turning on the old Superstation for me, watching the WCW. For some fans, they're watching the WWF Superstars or whatever it was,
Yep.
To see that these guys are being taken care of and the fans still appreciate them and support them in their future projects, I think it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. I've been keeping in contact with Kamala's ghostwriter / manager, former manager, but good friend, Kenny Casanova, who's been helping me set this up, and I've been working with him, kind of spreading the word as much as I could. And when I started spreading it through Twitter, it completely blew up. Tweets from Matt Stryker, Gerald Briscoe, gosh, I can't even think of, there's so many of them. Okay, I lost my train of thought, but there's so many of them just to name. It completely took off, and I can also say that one of our guests coming up later this month, Ivan Koloff's Kickstarter, they're just under $1,000. They're about $950 away from reaching their goal with 9 days left to go. So that one's looking good. I'm very happy because I've definitely tried to help spread the word for both accounts and hoping both accounts reach their goal, which in this case one has. We're just waiting on the other one.
Very cool. And it doesn't surprise me that guys like Stryker or, people that are actually, still in the business would be excited about Kamala. This is a dude that's been wrestling since the mid-'70s, and, whether you're my age or whether you're, in your teens or your 20s or a little bit younger,
like
I'm
Austin.
sure that yeah, like Austin, young bucks out there. I'm sure you've seen the Ugandan giant, and, he's somebody that, I'm sure evokes a lot of fond memories of just watching wrestling when it was good, back in the good old days, so to speak.
Well, you know what? I don't want to keep Mr. Harris waiting too much longer. Austin, I hope if you're listening, bud, you're going to call in soon because I'd hate to do this without you, and I think that's him calling in just in the nick of time because I was just about to call without you. Austin, is that you?
Yes, it is. It's me. I'm sorry. It's like I'm chain wrestling. I'm doing one thing to the other. Now I'm doing Pipebomb Radio. Just had to deliver a 2015 kitten calendar to my grandmother. So,
okay. Well, you came in just in the nick of time because I was about to call Mr. Harris right now, so we can get this rocking and rolling, and then we'll have plenty of time to talk about everything else after we're done with him.
The Ugandan giant about to invade Pipebomb Radio.
Yes, sir. Gonna be fun. And, boy, I'm sure we've got a lot to talk about Monday Night Raw because, people just love to talk about it anyway, whether it was good, whether it was bad. I definitely will get you guys' opinion on it at the conclusion. And without further ado, here we go.
Welcome to Verizon Wireless. The number you dialed has been changed.
Uh-oh, maybe I dialed it wrong. Okay, something wrong here. Let me see what I dialed here, because I dialed this morning, and for some reason it's not giving me the number. That's not a good sign.
Well, listen, Felix, remember, we're talking to a man who comes from the forest, from Uganda.
I know what I did.
You have to take into account that we might have a few call problems.
You know what I did, and you know Austin better than anybody how many problems I get with these doggone phones here. I just ended up, what I did is I put, well, I'll tell you more about it after we're done, because I don't want to embarrass myself any more than I have, so. Here we go, guys. Let's try this again. Take 2.
Here we go.
Hello.
Hello, is this Mr. Harris?
Yes, this is him.
Mr. Harris, this is Felix, and I have my co-hosts Nate and Austin here with Pipebomb Radio. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
We're just honored to have a legend like yourself on here to chat about some good old-fashioned wrestling.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
And I actually just wanted to kick it off with saying congratulations for reaching your goal on your Kickstarter. I am so excited to see that your book is finally going to get published. I'm looking to actually get a copy of it myself very soon. I just am saying I'm ecstatic. I'm so happy for you, sir.
Well, thank you very much. I sure appreciate it.
I just wanted to kick things off and ask you your very first question here. As a kid growing up, were you a fan of professional wrestling, or did you become a fan at a certain age?
I think when I was about 10 or 12 years old, I was kind of a fan. I wasn't a big fan then in Mississippi, and then when I moved, I left and went on down to Florida when I was 17, and that's when I became a big fan. Yeah, I was a real big fan then, but it ain't nothing that I wanted to do.
Well, looking at your, being a fan of professional wrestling, how did your parents feel about it? Were they like, oh, well, that's too rough, we want you doing that?
When I had a single parent, during the time I started, I just had a mother. And, yes, it was, that she used to watch wrestling. She was a big wrestling fan. And when she watched a lot of people on television throwing fire and teaming people, and the referee not looking and all that stuff, she just told me that I needed somebody to watch my back if I'm going to wrestle anyway. So she just didn't understand it. Yeah.
And in your time as you got into, well, let me just start off by saying this. How did you get your start? What was your connection into getting into professional wrestling?
My connection is once I left Florida, I moved to Ben Harbor, Michigan. And I was looking for a job, and I couldn't find a job after I was up there. I guess it had been a couple of months I was looking for a job, so I was riding with my sister's boyfriend because I didn't have a car. And I told her he was taking me around different places trying to find me a job. And I got disgusted one day. I said, I just ought to go and wrestle. But I didn't really mean it and say it to him. I didn't think he had no connection. He hit his brakes and he took me to Bobo Brazil's house. But Bobo Brazil wasn't home. So he took me to his friend's house, Canaan Kim. I hated, I just didn't want to back out. Once I had told him that I just ought to go and wrestle. I said it for a joke. And he ended up in it. His friend started training me.
Wow.
Now, did you actually have an idea of what you wanted to be as a professional wrestler, like as far as the character goes, and eventually going on to be Kamala? Did you have any idea that you would go on to be, something like that, like the legend that you are?
No, I had no idea. Especially once I started wrestling, and it was so hard getting booked, and making only $40 a night during that time, back around 7 or 8 when I first started. And it was just, like I say, it was just so hard to get booked. And then when you get booked somewhere, you wasn't making a lot of money. And my mind then was just sit on, get what little bit I can get out of it, and just wrestle part-time and just doing drive truck.
Now, Mr. Harris, you talk about some of those early days, and anybody that listens to this show knows that I always have a soft spot for, those people that came out of that world-class era back in the early 80s. And just some of the stuff that you were doing with Scandal, Akbar, and those cats back then, it just entertained me so much as a kid, so I wanted to thank you for that just off the top.
Yes, sure.
But what was it like, in that era when we talked about it last week with James Beard, he was on the show. What was it like just being in Dallas and being around that area when that company was just so hot and the fans were so into it?
It was so much fun. I really enjoyed myself, making decent money, well, good money to me. And it and Mid-South were about the same. I just really enjoyed. The guys were good. The runners were good to work with. And just all in the total area, everybody was just real good to work with. And we did a lot of road trips, in cars. There was no flying then unless we flew on our own. And it just was a really, really good territory to work.
You were also in WWE for 2 different eras. I actually started watching during the second time that you were in, and I have to mention this because I was such a fan of the work that you did with Undertaker. And obviously he was such an intimidating character and definitely unique at that time. I really feel the both of you guys really made that feud so enjoyable to watch and quite comical because of how you sold, how afraid you were of the caskets. And
yeah.
And I had to comment and say that I really enjoyed the work you did with Undertaker. People have said nothing but great things about him. What was maybe share a memory of working back in Wembley with him, or even at Survivor Series that year?
Yeah, working with Undertaker, it was great. See, I worked with him more than just Wembley and yeah. So, but anyway, those were just my most memorable matches and televised matches, and he was just so. He was easy to work with. He had a real good attitude. He always was, he made me feel comfortable working with him. And I think I made him feel comfortable working with me. Because, I was before his time. But still, we worked great together. I think.
Absolutely.
Now, how did you feel about Kamala, the character, early on? Like, did you, when it was, I don't know who came up with it, but if you can give us some insight on that, particularly, that would be awesome.
On the Kamala earlier, you say?
How was the Kamala character created?
Oh, it was created right here in Memphis by Jerry Lawler. Yeah, once. Yeah, I had been living in England, and I got my ankle broke when I was in England. I was over there about a year. So after that, I came home, and I was moving all my stuff home by water. It came by sea, and so it usually takes about 30 days for it to get here during that time. So I went to Memphis to see the Dream Machine, to get me some, see, he always had wrestling trunks and stuff like that to sell. So I went to get me some just in case, my stuff didn't make it in time, and I was well enough, my ankle was well enough for me to, go to work. So when I got there, Jerry Lawler and Jerry, they were looking at me. they didn't want me to go in the back, dressing room. So they said, "Can we help you?" I said, "Yeah, I'm looking for a drink machine." They said, "Well, he hadn't made it here yet." I said, "You guys looking at me like you don't remember me." I said, "I'm Philip Harris. I just had my hair off." He said, "Oh, yeah, I remember you now. You looking for work?" I said, "Well, my ankle is about broke. It's broken, but I still walk on this fair." He said, "Well, look, how about you going home and don't let the fans see you, and I call you in a few days." And that Wednesday, I think it was, he called me, and I went to Hendersonville, Tennessee, and that's where he created Kamala in Hendersonville, Tennessee. And he did the same thing. He made my skirt, and we did the little vignette up there on Jerry's place. So I said Lola and Jared created me.
That's very interesting. Like you've been around so many great minds in the world of wrestling. You've been around so many great characters and great performers that we all still remember to this day. We talked about your time in World Class. You were in the WWF. You've been in WCW. Was there one stop that you kind of hold closest to your heart when it comes to looking back on your long and storied career?
Yeah, and that's Mid-South Sports. Cowboy Bill Watt. That was Devlin, but I would say two, because World Class in Dallas it's almost as good as Mid-South, but I would say Mid-South was the best, even though I love both of them.
Now, just out of curiosity, kind of rolling off of what Nate was saying earlier, now with working in world class with as hot as crowd as they're known to be, and during the WWE era of the 80s, and you've been in both atmospheres, which was more, if that can actually be even summed up, how was the atmosphere for both? Were they both about the same? Was one crowd a little bit more crazier than the other? What would you say? I mean, working in both.
You mean in Mid-South and World Class?
In World Class. No, World Class and the WWE. I'm sorry.
World Class and the WWE. Well, they both was hot, but in working in World Class, I guess because they were smaller venues that we worked in, the atmosphere, it sound almost the same, but not sound almost the same, but the people got just as into it as they did in the Northeast. It just was a bigger crowd in the Northeast.
Okay.
Now going on to you faced The Undertaker. You had an awesome rivalry with him. But speaking of one man, one of the greatest of all time, Hulk Hogan, who you know very well, how was it like working with him?
Oh, I had a ball working with Hogan. He's an easy guy, really good for me to work with. I feel comfortable working with him, and I've heard that he felt comfortable working with me. Matter of fact, he has told me a lot of times that he really enjoys working with me. And I know when we get back to the dressing room, he'll come in with his arms out for a big old hug. And I would do the same. But he really liked working with me, and I like working with him. He was a darling to work with.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so much of wrestling is about that respect, like you talk about, Mr. Harris. And I did want to bring up a recent article, I guess, that's been getting a lot of publicity in terms of the way that the WWE views some of their minority workers, whether they be blacks or Hispanics or females. during your time there, did you ever see any like outright discrimination, or is it just like a, I don't know, maybe like a culture of the people at the top don't really understand black workers or Mexican workers or whatever it may be?
Yeah, I saw quite a bit of that in the WWF, when it was WWF during that time. And I saw more of that than I did in the South. And I couldn't understand that. I thought maybe, in the Northeast, that it wouldn't be nothing like that. But anytime that I would get to the building early and get myself a good dressing room so that I can put my paint and put all my gear on, then here comes some of the agents and ask me to move, find me somewhere else to get dressed because Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, and Randy Savage, any of those guys, they would need that dressing room, but they didn't care about me, where I would get dressed in. And so what I would do is just go ahead on and Kimchi with Steve Lombardi. He would find any old kind of tarp or just a corner of the building where we could get dressed, and sometimes we'd use a flashlight so that I could see how to put my paint and stuff on in order to perform that night. So, but now, guys like Hogan and Andre and all those guys, they didn't know. I don't believe they did. I don't believe they knew that they was asking me to leave the dressing room just for them. I don't believe that they knew that, because some of them, I don't believe Hogan would have took it, knowing that they moved me or something like that.
Do you think that was something coming from the management and not the workers themselves?
I don't believe it was coming from the workers themselves. I don't know that, but I really would be surprised if it were. I think it was agents. I think it was the agents, yeah.
And Mr. Harris, as over the years, as you kind of retired from the wrestling business, what led to you? What was some of your inspiration to want to actually tell your story? Because everybody finds their inspiration at some point in their life, whether it be while they're still in wrestling, whether they're retired, some maybe as they're close to their retirement, and all have great stories to tell. I've read quite a few great stories. What inspired you to tell your story?
You mean in the book?
In the book, absolutely.
Okay. In the book, there's so many wrestlers that have books out. I know all of them have just about different stories, but they feel somewhere similar. But mine was because of Kenny kept asking me. When he called me up, then he stayed on me about doing the book, and he thought it would do good for me. And so he stayed on me about doing it, but I had other guys to call me about the book, and but they just wasn't as interesting to talk to as Kenny is. And that's why I decided, I said, well, it won't hurt nothing for me to just go ahead on and just do it and just tell it just the way it is. And a lot of the things, just don't be ashamed to say them. Just say them. In respect to all of us, still human beings.
Now, you were actually, before going to WWE, you had your rivalries with Hulk Hogan. But then, in 1995, you made your debut in WCW with Kevin Sullivan's Dungeon of Doom, which your sole purpose exactly was to end Hulk Hogan's career. What were the differences between WWE and WCW at that time that you noticed?
WCW, I wasn't in their clique. Now, Hogan asked me about coming to WCW, so, to work with him. And I was in my truck, driving truck. So I said, yeah, maybe I get a chance to make a few dollars. So I went down there, and I can't think of the booker name down there, but anyway, Eric Bischoff. He wouldn't give me a contract. He wouldn't even talk to me. And I don't know what I did. He wouldn't even speak to me. Until one time, Hogan and I went out, we had such great match. And when I came back to the dressing room, he did stick his hand out and shook my hand and said, that was a great match. And that's all he ever said to me. And I only stayed there about 3 months. And they really wasn't doing nothing with me. Wasn't making any money. I said, I can go back home and drive a truck and do a lot better than this. It's a shame the little money that I made when I was there. So anyway, I left and came back home.
And if you actually had you've had your share of managers over the years, and looking back, I mean, if you had the opportunity to have maybe worked with other managers, was there anybody in particular that you might have liked to work with if you had the chance?
It would be Skandar Akbar. General Skandar Akbar? Yeah. He was my favorite of all managers. I guess nothing against the other managers. It's just that Akbar and it's just like we grew up together, in a sense, because we knew each other, what one another was going to do. And Akbar and Friday at that time, they really took care of me. They wanted people to believe that I was from Uganda, and they never let me drove, and which I liked it. I never drove. I was never seen out in public with Akbar and him, unless it was at a place where very few people come into, and after we get inside, Akbar's the win first, then maybe it's Friday, but Friday don't have his mask on. I don't have my paint on, and then later on, I will come in. And after we kind of fill it out, you can kind of feel if the restaurant or place you're in, if they're wrestling fans. And if we have that feeling that they're not wrestling fans, then we all sit together. If not, we just sit separate. Akbar and Friday could always sit together, but I would sit different because, they know Akbar, and then they see a big old black guy like me sitting with Akbar, they'll know then. They'll put two and two together.
Now, Mr. Harris, I just wanted to let you know that I do have Kenny on the line, Kenny Casanova. He is on the line now.
Oh, and, great.
Hey, James, how you doing? This is Kenny.
I'm doing good, Kenny. How are you?
Good, man. I was DJing myself out here. I do, wedding DJ stuff and all, and I'm the ghostwriter of the book for the people listening, and I stepped aside to let them sing some karaoke and come over and plug the book.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's great.
So, is it okay to plug the book? You guys mind?
No, please, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, we worked with James for about 8 months to get all the stories down. And we interviewed James, we interviewed some of the people that he worked with, and we put all this stuff together and had James tell the story again. And we got a real rich story, I think, to tell, and I think people will like it. What makes it different than some of the other books out there is that the stories that James tells are also enhanced by other people, and there's more detail. There's a lot of dialogue. I think that's what really makes it cool, because when you're reading a book, and this, I'm also an English teacher, so I've noticed this with kids. They like when they can hear the voices of the people in the story. So you get to hear, you get to hear what's going on in the locker room more so than just read a summary of an account of what happened. A lot of the slower wrestling books are just summaries, they're just results. This happened, but this, you actually hear. For instance, Jake the Snake talking in the locker room and saying this to James or something, before. So it feels more animated. It feels, it feels like you're with them, and I think that's how the fans may connect to his book more than others. And James will tell you. He told me when we started, he forgets a bit. There's a lot of, older fighting athletes like Muhammad Ali and stuff. They lose their memory a little bit. James said he got hit a lot in the head with chairs, so he lost his memory. But by being able to call all these other people, I would hear the story told by like Buddy Landell. Then I'd hear the story told by Kevin Sullivan. I'd hear the story told by someone else, and then I'd tell it to James, and we put it all together in his voice, and it made for a really cool ton of road stories, man. And it's funny. We punched it up. It's not a lot of just. Some vets it's like an angry bitch fest sometimes, and it's not that. His is very inspirational. It's fun. I think people will like it a lot.
That was something awesome. I picked up on, Kenny, just by talking with Mr. Harrison. I like when you hear a lot of the older veterans talk, a lot of times it does come across as, some bitterness, some sour grapes in some instances, and in some cases rightfully so, but just talking with Mr. Harrison tonight, you could tell that there's a lot of respect and a lot of love for the industry, and I think that's something that fans, because we're watching this, we love the product, we're invested. I think we can connect to his love of the sport through the story.
Sure, absolutely. That's just great, Kenny. I can't thank you enough for coming on here, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I just wanted to let them know too that you can go on Kickstarter now. We still have another 20 days, and this is the first show we're able. Yeah, this is the first show we're able to say, hey, you guys already did it for us, so we don't even have to ask people to donate. But we're asking you to continue though, because what we're going to do with the extra money is, for one thing, we don't have to sell as many books. We can write a bigger check to James to help him out. He can get ramps or anything needed for his house. Is there one thing, by the way, James, that would help a little bit with the diabetes and the loss of mobility that some extra money through the sale of books could help you with? That's something I haven't asked you before.
Like in my bathroom, I have the door is small. The door is small, but I can barely get my chair in. And what I need, I have to slide out of my chair to get into the shower with a bench that I made, because the bench that I was buying, because the government don't buy them for you, the bench that I was buying, it was breaking down, so I made benches for me to, to sit on to take shower. But I really need the bathroom that I can drive my chair right into. Now, if a friend of mine had one, and I don't forget what he said it cost him to have that done. But it was pretty expensive.
Right.
And I was hoping that I would get enough money to get me a van, a handicap van, so I can drive again, because right now I just kind of sit and look out the door, don't ever go anywhere.
So
and
like
when I do go somewhere,
the pedals on the wheel, right? Like the gas pedals up on the top where you can use it by hand.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, if I had that, then I could kind of drive.
I mean, some of the kids out there should probably know the moment you get a car, you're a free man. You're no longer stuck at home. So if we could get them this again, that'd be really cool. I mean, what the Kickstarter did was it created a means so we could print his book. Because we didn't go through self-publishing. We didn't go through a publisher. We went through self-publishing. So now we can print his book.
If I wanted to throw in there, Kenny, if you don't mind me interrupting, I just wanted to say too that with the amount of people that have actually noticed and helped out, whether it be a retweet or a share or what have you, it's completely blown up, and it's taken on a life of its own. People are with the outpouring of love for Kamala and his story, and as you and I were talking about with the retweets from guys like Matt Stryker or Gerald Briscoe or Tom Pritchard?
Rob Van Dam.
Yeah, Rob Van Dam. Just, Ivan Koloff, just people just showing their love and respect for what, the legacy that Mr. Harris has created in wrestling, and just for the fact that as kids, he scared us to death, but, we admire what he's done. Obviously we weren't sure what, this big guy was coming in, and he looked scary. And
right.
But I think this is a great way to give back, and I think the outpouring of love is just amazing.
So yeah, with the Kickstarter, we've already got the money to print the book, so it's happening. But if we can get some more, that can help him with some other things like the van with the pedals and the bathroom issues. What it is it becomes a means of distribution. We can sell the book through Kickstarters as rewards, so we can keep selling. We'll print more books and sell more with the money that's brought in. And he can sell these books later on. Down the line, he'll have a little supplemental income in a product that he can, hopefully make some extra money with down the road. So
Amazon.
People should, yeah, sure. But we're hoping people will continue to pledge even above the goal.
Absolutely. Well, I think another idea that Kenny and I were talking about was that maybe in a year or two down the line, maybe working with getting a documentary print done for Mr. Harris and see where that goes.
That'd be great. I mean, there's a guy, Michael Elliott, right now that's also in Kickstarter, super fun. Yeah. He's helping out Ivan Koloff, the Russian Bear. You know Ivan, James? I'm sure you know him, right?
Yeah, I know Ivan real well.
Yeah, he's got a video coming out. So now that we're already funded, we should tell some of the other people to look over there, too, and help his documentary get up there and have a nice video come out.
They're about $950 away from goal.
$950, that's it?
That's about all they have left to get to their goal.
Good deal. All right, so I bet they'll make it. That's good. We're going to ask everybody else to check that out, too. Another good cause. Ivan's a great guy.
Yeah, what's the goal?
What's that?
I'm sorry?
I was asking what was his goal.
What was his goal?
His goal was $4,500.
That sounds right, yeah. And I think that's to pay some of the other wrestlers to appear in the video. And James, we could probably talk to Michael Elliott later and tell him we got to make one of you. We should do that.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. And I was going to say that the people on the WWE Network, there's a show called Legends of Wrestling, and I remember a close friend, I believe, of Kamala, Michael Hayes, was just saying that everything that he said, Kamala knew what he was doing when he was in that ring. He knew exactly what he was there for, and exactly what he was there to do, and that was to entertain the fans. And Kamala is going to be a legend forever.
Oh, thank you. That's good to hear.
And probably without a doubt one of the most agile superstars I've ever seen, and one of the most agile big men in the wrestling business, and without a doubt. But
real quick, you just mentioned the network, and that was something I did want to bring up because with the network now available in the United States and other countries, it's like now is the best time ever to go back and check out some of these legends. Some of these guys that, if you're Austin's age and you haven't seen these guys, but you heard your big brothers or your uncles talk about them, go back and check these guys out because the only way that, these guys lose whatever relevance or power that they have is if we forget about them. And, when you talk about a guy like Kamala, you talk about Ivan Koloff, these are some great workers, and you don't want to forget about people like that.
Sure. I mean, one of the things that makes Kamala unique was in a time even early on when people would, fear the bad guy, they still went up to shake his hand. They still went to ringside, to the aisle. The kids would run up to slap five, even with the bad guys, if they could make it happen. The bad guys wouldn't do it usually. But in the case of Kamala, the kids would run the other way. They wanted no part of it. They were running out of the arena. So he was one of the few, and that's something you can't teach anybody. You can't learn this. He was one of the few that knew his gimmick so well that people believed it. And even when people question, if there was some kind of shenanigans, some kind of maybe not 100% true, or some kind of choreographed or whatever. They all believed Kamala was the real deal. They saw the spear, they saw the mask, and they ran the other way. So, I mean, this book and the stories that he's told, man, it really, really different in that everybody believed that Kamala was the real guy from the jungle.
He was a real deal.
Yep.
I even believed it at one time.
Mr. Harris, I got to ask, was it tough wrestling barefoot?
It was. When I first started, I was young, and it was okay. But as I went to getting a little older, my feet started bothering me, and anyway, they got me so it was hurt.
Hey, James, tell the story about the sandals in Gorilla Monsoon.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, my feet is hurt. My feet had started to hurt. They were getting sore. I guess from going to the ring and walking on all this concrete and bad steps and everything. So what I did, sandals. I got it, and I wore the thing to wrestle in. And when I wore the sandals inside the ring, Gorilla Monsoon, he told Vince that I was killing my gimmick, not wearing, by wearing those sandals. And Vince said worried back for me not to go to the ring, rest sandals, because that'll kill my gimmick. It's not African-like. But when I was in Africa, that's all I saw him wear was sandals.
Probably true, isn't it?
That is crazy.
Yeah, so anyway, I pulled them off and I wrestling bare feet. I just would bite the pain because I was hoping that one day, that I would get a good break in the WWF to make a lot of money, but it just never happened.
Yeah, it was different times too, man. There were very few, I think, African-American wrestlers that even got much of a break ever. So,
yeah,
too bad that's how it was back then. But I think maybe James paved the road, too, for some people to be more successful today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I wanted to ask one last question, on my part anyway. If the opportunity presented itself, Mr. Harris, maybe working with Kenny somewhere down the line, had you ever considered maybe doing your own podcast at one point and just sitting there just talking and bringing on some of your old friends and telling some crazy stories and just having fun?
That might would be good. I don't know if it would be good for me because I'm not a good speaker. I don't, my vocabulary is very limited, and I don't want to get on, I don't even know what a podcast is. What is it?
It's actually what you're on right now.
I know I've been on them. Oh. I knew I had been on a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if it would be good for me. If I had somebody on there that would help me along the way, then it might would be all right.
And actually throughout this phrase, the various people that come on the show, I always say, why live a life if you don't at least do something remarkable? And Kamala, sir, you have done so much. Remarkable is an understatement for what you've done in your life, because not many people step out the door and go out and do what you've done.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, well, after I got into wrestling, I did my best. And an old saying goes, I'm not the best and I would never be the best, but I did my best. And that's all I could do. I wanted to entertain the people. Yeah, I wanted to entertain the people. I wanted the people to go home with Kamala in their head, on their mind. But, now, I was a type. Now, I know I scared a lot of people, but I never chased people. I never started that. I never did that. They just run anyway.
The last thing I wanted to say to you, Mr. Harris, is just, as a fan of wrestling, especially the old school wrestling, and as a black man, when I was coming up, my heroes were, you talk about Junkyard Dog, you talk about Iceman King Parsons, Ron Simmons, yourself, Tony Atlas, those were the workers that kind of got my attention, because it was like I could see somebody that looks like me being entertaining on television. And so, you may never have been like the Hulk Hogan with the big bank account, but for me, and I'm sure a lot of fans out there, you were just as big a star, and I thank you for the entertainment that you gave me, man.
Oh, you are most welcome. You're certainly welcome.
And, Mr. Harris, if somewhere down the line, once these books starts going out and so forth, maybe the first part of the year, we'd love to have you and Kenny come back on the show and just let us know how everything's going, and maybe we can bring you on for a part 2, and maybe you can tell us a few stories, and what do you guys think?
Sounds good to me, man.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Absolutely. We had a lot of fun tonight, and just getting to know, and we're so excited for you, and getting to see your book get published, and we're just honored to have a gentleman like yourself, sir. And you know what? Regardless of your vocabulary, I think you would do a tremendous job as a host for your own podcast. I'm not by any means perfect at hosting a show. My vocabulary is not perfect at all, but I do try my best. I think you and Kenny would be very successful at doing this if you guys decided to do it together.
Yeah, okay, sounds good.
The book, we punched it up with grammar, so there's no issues there. But I think James can tell a story anyhow. So
exactly, absolutely. But we want to thank you guys for coming on tonight. Kenny, you're an awesome man. I'll be talking to you soon. And Mr. Harris, keep keep doing what you do. We're very proud of you, and we're looking forward to reading your book.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me on.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay. You too. Bye-bye.
All righty, Kenny. You go ahead and have fun DJing now.
Will do.
All right, take care, man.
If you're still on, if you could plug just the website, KamalaSpeaks.com.
Oh, sure. Yes, please. Go ahead.
That'd be great. If we're still on, check out KamalaSpeaks.com. And also, you can still go to Kickstarter, and that's where you're able to get, for the collectible things out there, like the autographs and T-shirts and limited CDs and all the real fun stuff is on Kickstarter. So check that out. You got another 20 days or so.
We'll do that. Absolutely. I'll keep spreading the word for you.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it all. Thanks, guys.
No problem, man. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Definitely a man I want to have on for a part 2, if there ever was one. This one can definitely keep. Sorry, who said that? Oh, who said that?
I'm
Hello.
saying this. It's not. We're not going to be having him. We're not going to have him on for a part 2. We're going to have him on for a part 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. He reminds me, guys like him, like Blackjack Mulligan, like Dan Severn, can talk to you for hours. You never get tired. Kamala is a legend.
No, not at all. He was fun. I enjoyed speaking to him. Very, very hospitable, and got that Southern charm. You can already see, and he's a very nice guy. And I think he can definitely. You know what? He's just an example of not letting things stop you when you're trying to pursue what you want.
Definitely.
There's a handful of guys that are still doing that. I hope he continues to go out and meet with fans, and maybe somewhere down the line do this documentary or maybe another book. Who knows? I'm sure he's got years of stories to tell.
Yeah, that was very cool. I mean, it would have been so easy given, kind of the prejudice that he had to face in the business and, his battle with diabetes. It'd be so easy for him to be bitter. But that's not the guy we talk to. We talked to somebody that you could tell has a love for life and still has a love for the wrestling business, and it was just really cool to talk to him tonight.
Absolutely. And he's very gracious to his fans, and he knows that he's got dozens and dozens and thousands of fans, and even his co-workers that either he's worked with or they've heard of him or watched him growing up, still got love for him, and that's just tremendous. I couldn't be happier for them reaching their goal, and Now we just got to focus on getting Mr. Koloff to reach his goal too. It'll happen.
One more thing, about that the Kamala Kickstarter, along with the other many things you can get from his personal Kickstarter, you can also get his signature T-shirt, which is probably the coolest T-shirt around because it's so simple. It has you know how his stomach is with the 2 stars and the moon. That's all there is on it, and I love that about it. It's like I can go out and be like Kamala. Paint my face up. Listen, kids, while you listen to Pipe Bomb Radio, while you're riding your bicycles at night, hopefully not. I guess your parents have supervision. You can actually be wearing your Kamala shirt. The face paint. Halloween is only just a month away. It's going to be great.
Absolutely. There you go. I'd do it. Shoot, if I got the belly for it, I'd do it. But no, that was a lot of fun. And like I was telling Nate, I was telling Nate before you popped in, this is a great way to kick off Legends Month for the month of September. We've got some great legends lined up. Obviously, you guys have heard, as we announced last week, that Ivan Koloff will be joining us this month. And next week, as some of our friends over at IHWE have brought on some of the Glow Girls on their show, next Tuesday night, we will have Glow legend Little Egypt on the show. She will be on. She was actually on Steve Austin's podcast last year, and she still connects with her fans from time to time. I think they're still trying to work on getting, unless it's already expired, I'll have to check on that, but I think they were working on something too, where they were trying to get something. Sorry?
Yes, that's it's called the Afterglow Party, which is actually their I think it's the what is it called? The Kickstarter or the GoFundMe account. I think it's already been the thing's been passed. They reached their goal, and I think even by a little bit more than what they were hoping. Yeah, so I mean that's awesome. Which Roxy Astor, who is also a member of the Glow team, came on IHW Radio last week and talked about it. And actually tomorrow night on IHW Radio, Charlie Haas is going to be on the show. Former WWE Tag Team Champion. I know, he's awesome. I know you interviewed him before on the early stages of Pipe Bomb Radio.
Yes, sir. He's going to be a lot of fun to talk to. He paved quite a way for himself, away from WWE, and became a real badass in Ring of Honor. I mean, that dude was no joke, and I'm not saying he ever was before, but they did try to make him out to be a joke, and you know what? His talent outshines all the craziness they've had him do in the past, and right now working with David Fuller in IHWE, hey, I wish him the best of luck, and I know you guys will have a great show. And with that, I want to ask, since we have some time to kill, what did you guys think about Monday Night Raw last night? I've heard the good, I've heard the bad, I've heard the ugly. What did you guys think?
Can we go back to talking about classic? Let's go back to talking about the classic wrestling. The less said about Raw, the better. I mean, I didn't understand why, and maybe you guys can explain this to me, but I didn't understand why it seemed like we took a step back in the Cena-Lesnar build for their match at Night of Champions. Okay.
I actually can see that. I mean,
go
ahead.
Oh, no, yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, the only thing I was going to say is because it just, you know what, we know he's not going to win it. Unless they pull some kind of swerve and Cena comes back and wins it again for the 16th time, there's really no point in having their rematch, even though I get it. I mean, I get it. And then it just seems like, I'm sorry, I'm just a bit disappointed with this Bella versus Bella thing. I'm not really into it.
No, Felix,
I'm sorry.
I would tell you.
Go ahead,
I would tell you my prediction. I would tell you my prediction for the John Cena versus Brock Lesnar match at Night of Champions for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, but I never told anybody.
All right, please.
That's the thing. I never told anybody about this. So I'm going to keep repeating that since the Bellas did that last night. Obviously, Nikki Bella has a lot of secrets, and that's ticking me off that she's just coming about this right now. They've been in WWE for almost 10 years, it seems, and she's just come out about this saying Brie Bella is the most conniving person on earth. And, I mean, let me tell you, when Dana Bryan comes back, I am not going to be surprised if Nikki Bella gets a swift kick to her skull, and that's probably not too far off. But I mean, as much as I respect girls, I'm just saying Nikki Bella doing all the stuff she's been doing over the past weeks isn't really going over with me well. But Brock Lesnar versus John Cena, I see Brock Lesnar defeating John Cena unless John Cena pulls something out of wherever in order to get that extra, supercharge in order to beat the Beast incarnate Brock Lesnar. John Cena needs to become a beast in order to beat one.
To be the beast, you got to beat the beast.
Exactly, just like Ric Flair, right? In order to be the man, you have to beat the man.
And if Cena wins, he will tie Ric Flair's record, won't he?
Oh,
well,
it scares me. Not necessarily,
Well, I don't get it, but I understand it. I mean, I guess that doesn't make sense, but I understand what they're doing with it. I just don't personally care for it.
Do you think they should have just waited? Because I think the only reason they're doing this is because they want the eyes for this show, for the network. But it's like, if you're really making this story about John Cena trying to come back from this great beating, shouldn't he stayed away for at least a couple months?
I thought that was what he was going to do, honestly. I mean, and let me pose this question to you guys. After Night of Champions, then what? What becomes of the champion?
I don't know.
Who is the next in line? Who is deserving enough to step up? They haven't really created a new number one contender unless they're pushing Roman Reigns, which they haven't really.
That's
what about
totally
Cesaro?
But unless John Cena grows a beard and comes back as a just a mean beast of a man, if he doesn't get the job in Night of Champions, I honestly don't see him coming back for a while, because I know in the shadows in the corner, Batista, Guardian of the Galaxy, is the only man that can possibly take over a beast incarnate.
I'm getting the feeling that he doesn't really want to hang around too much longer. I think he wants to kind of go out with his head held high and retire. I mean, he's 45 years old, and he's doing more better in the movies than people thought.
Exactly. He's like, that cash is rolling in, man. I don't think he knew exactly how successful he was going to be in the movies, unless with this Guardians of the Galaxy thing with being Drax and the thing. I think this is the number one movie in America right now.
I was surprised myself. I didn't think the man had that much talent, but hey, I'm kidding. By the way, I'm kidding.
Well, that's the thing. Like, the movie, it's not just the movie is big. He was actually really good in the movie, and I think that Batista would be the next guy, because I think Roman is still too early. I think Roman's moment has to come at Royal Rumble, I think, and build him towards Mania. I think it's still too early for Reigns right now.
And I just want to throw out, we're definitely keeping Jake the Snake Roberts in our prayers. Hopefully he gets through his illness right now and comes back kicking ass, and praying that he can make it to the Royal Rumble 2015, because I definitely would love to see it.
He should have been in there last year. Come on, Vince.
I agree. But
well, you know what? Kind of thing I'm looking forward to seeing. If Jake Roberts returns to the Royal Rumble, I want Randy Orton and Jake Roberts to face off in the ring. Two Vipers going at it.
Hey, I was going to say the Diamond Cutter. I guess it's a version. The RKO versus the DDT? Interesting. And he can always get his revenge for Randy dropping Jake back in 2005.
Yeah.
But just a thought. And I got to ask you guys, I don't know if you guys read about this, but I got to bring it up because I found it kind of humorous. During the Diva segment, there was a fan holding up a sign that says, "I would rather be watching WCW Nitro for $9.99 than Raw," or something like that. And I guess he got his signs confiscated. What do you guys think about that? Did you guys hear anything or read about it?
I saw the screen grabs and I saw the story, and I think it's just, I mean, come on. If it's not anything offensive or explicit, like language and stuff like that, let the fans have fun. Besides, he's right. Like, I would have rather watched that first Nitro with Lex Luger at the Mall of America than that Total Divas match.
With me, I think
that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, people have their rights when they buy a ticket to be able to put on a poster
right now,
or whatever.
The
whatever
freedom of speech has not been taken seriously. People are getting approached and only allowed to flash certain signs, and that's a big thing that's going to start turning fans away. And I'm not saying this to bash WWE, because they were all about freedom of speech years and years ago, even during the 80s. You know, even the early 90s, people could say, shit, they were throwing things at people. They were stabbing people. Come on now. You're going to get mad over a silly sign? Come on.
Oh, come on. That's not, and that's not acceptable now? What? We can't stab anybody? Oh, come on, man.
Shut up.
But we can bring posters. We can't bring posters in the crowd that says, you know, things like, oh, I'll rather watch Nitro for $9.99, which I don't think. I mean, that's a kind of disrespectful thing to say when you're at a Raw show. I mean, I guess if you're not there to have fun, you shouldn't be there at all. You know, that's my opinion about it. If you don't want to watch Raw, change the channel or leave the arena. You know, or even go to it to begin with.
If anything, though, Vince should have been happy, because that guy is promoting the network, which is like their big thing right now.
That's true. That's a good point. That's a very good point. Now, most people don't realize that. And what do you guys think? Do you guys think that we could be seeing a future beef between AJ Lee and Stephanie McMahon? I feel it coming. I mean, they had their face off once before, and then now again. Like, I don't know. I don't think AJ's completely done with her yet.
That may be your WrestleMania match.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nathan.
Hey, there you go.
Oh, I said that may be the WrestleMania matchup.
That's a good.
Well, I'm just going to say this. After seeing how Stephanie McMahon performed in the SummerSlam ring in Los Angeles, California, I want to see her wrestle every single month and twice on Sunday. Well, technically they'll be on Sundays already, so I guess twice on the pay-per-view maybe. But I mean, you know, Stephanie McMahon I can't even tell you guys. I was screaming I'm not even kidding you when I'm telling you this. I was screaming at the fact that she was doing as good as she did.
I'm just kidding.
I was more so than probably anything that year. I'm not even kidding you. I'm like, oh my God, did she just do that? It's freaky. It's getting me chills right now thinking about it.
She was very impressive, and she looked so much more dominant than she's looked in years, and she's probably in the best shape she's ever been in. You know, even having 3 kids. You know, she was young and still kind of green, and not saying she's the best performer, but you know what? When it comes to it, the McMahons step up. Vince can't wrestle to save his life, but he'll fight you. He'll beat you down with him. He'll potato the hell out of you. You know, Shane is a daredevil. Shane is a freaking daredevil and will do whatever it takes to entertain the fans. Stephanie can't wrestle just like her dad to save her life, but you know what? She will fight you. And you know what? Has Triple H as a husband, you know, training her to, you know, it shows that she's learning how to wrestle. So that's a plus. That's a very big plus.
So do you think eventually we're going to get that a mixed tag with Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella against Hunter and Steph?
It'll happen. Oh, yeah.
I think we got to
get past this Bella crap. It'll happen.
And, you know, one thing for me, and I think Felix can agree with this as well, I think there are so many divas on the roster, and there's Stephanie McMahon, AJ Lee Page, and then some, but one diva that needs to make her return sometime in the future, maybe for a Hall of Fame, is Chyna. Because I've been so proud of her, just seeing her, you know, she's living so well now, you know, doing her yoga every single day, drinking her smoothies, which, I mean, I don't even know what she puts on them, but, I mean, it seems like always a different recipe on her page. But Felix knows what I'm talking about. Chyna's living really well right now.
She's happy. She's in a good place mentally, physically, living in Tokyo as an English teacher.
I don't think that's like I'm very like you guys are saying, like great for her that she's turned her life around, because she was legitimately one of the biggest stars of the Attitude Era. But I don't see it just because we know McMahon's can hold grudges, and it's a shame because Randy Savage should be in the Hall of Fame right now. You know, Chyna should be going in at some point, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, I will say, as far as Randy goes, I have a good feeling about 2015. I really do, and I'm hoping that good feeling don't go away. As far as Chyna goes, I will say never, because when it comes to money, if it's going to make the McMahons money, there's always a way. There's always a way. Because they've brought back people they never thought they would be brought back, like a Sable who sued WWE. You know, Hogan, Warrior, Bruno. Never say never.
Yeah. I'm thinking maybe they'll induct DX as a whole, and that'll be the way to get her in there.
Well, you know what? She's basically told me, and I've spoken to her a few times, she basically told me she has no issues with Vince, Stephanie, or Hunter. That part of her past she's put behind her. And if the opportunity ever presented itself for her to return to WWE and maybe get put in the Hall of Fame or say her goodbye, whatever, she would be more than happy to do it. And there's no grudges, nothing personal, just business. She'd love it because she would love to reconnect with her fans, and even if it's just to say goodbye. Because she's not going to wrestle anymore. She knows that. But even if it's just to, get that honor of being recognized forever in their Hall of Fame. Everybody knows it. And hell, even people she worked with now back then recognize that she should be in there now. If they're going to put Trish and Lita, how could you not put China?
Yeah.
Good just point. Saying. But as far as everything else goes, for tonight's shows and past shows that we've done, our 100th that we had last week, we're at 101 today. Can you believe that? 101 shows. Okay, I'm going to be the Michael Cole today. And only for $9.99. No, I'm just kidding. It's for free. It's for free. You can get them off of iTunes. We're on YouTube. Or you can just go to our website, pipebombradio.weebly.com. Check out all of our shows. Our Pro Wrestling Historical Society returns this Sunday night. And other than that, anything else you guys want to plug? Austin, Nate, I don't know, whoever you guys want to, whatever you guys want to plug.
Pipebomb Radio is listened to everywhere. Like, I don't know if Felix mentioned this, but iTunes, the Blog Talk page also, YouTube, but also was actually having a conversation with an alien in space. He was actually talking to me, saying that they listen to Pipebomb Radio. Really? They listen to Pipebomb Radio in space. I'm not even kidding you. It's crazy to think about, but I'm not. So if you think that we're not the only ones listening to Pipebomb Radio on Earth, there's some creatures up there, creatures of the night that are listening to it as well.
And in the last 9 months, in the 9 months of 2014, we've almost hit 10,000 downloads. We're not there yet. We're almost there. Almost 10,000 downloads in the last 9 months.
Well, it takes a while for downloads to register from space. It's speed of light and everything.
Yes. And how about you, Nate? What you got to plug, man?
All right. Well, you folks, if you enjoy me here with the guys on Pipebomb Radio every week, you can check out my other show, The Kings of Sport. It's myself and Marcus Vanderberg, and each week we talk about sports. We talk a little pro wrestling. We talk some pop culture, and it's available on iTunes, available on Stitcher. It's you can go to facebook.com/The Kings of Sport, and you can also check us out on Twitter at KOS_POD, Kyle's Pod on Twitter.
That's awesome. And I know if you have as much, I don't know, what would you say, which show you have the most fun on? I know you have fun on both shows probably, but do you have more fun with us or with your other partner?
Let me tell you, the most fun you can have is talking to cool people and not doing a lot of the work. And so for this, I didn't have to make any phone calls. I didn't have to work any scripts out. I just showed up, got on my computer, and I'm talking to Kamala. I love
Can't go wrong with that.
Right, but if I can talk to some legends and not do any work, that's a win-win.
But that's a very good point. Absolutely, and that's the working part is not hard. It gets stressful at times, but you know what? In the end, the reward pays off. And if we, I'm just thankful that we were able to have the connections that we do have now. Sorry?
No, I'm saying it's all about listening and learning. That's kind of the opportunity that we've given people, that listen to the show. That's the reason why we're doing it, not just to listen to the legends and learn for ourselves, but also give the other people outside of this an opportunity to learn and just get better and more knowledgeable about the art of professional wrestling.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more, and I continue to have fun doing it. Obviously, as it showed, we kept on pushing through some of the craziest shows to the most fun, to the most sad, to the most boring. No, I'm just kidding. None were really that boring. But to reach 100 is definitely a lot of fun. As you heard last week, we told some great stories of some of the past guests we've had on and all the guests that came on last week. It was a lot of fun. I didn't think it was going to be that much fun, and I'll be honest, we weren't sure if we were going to get that many guests on, and just thankful for the ones that came on. But I look forward to definitely the rest of 2014 and continuing on Legends Month. Obviously, we've got Ivan coming up, and the next week we've got Little Egypt, and the best is yet to come. Anything left you guys want to mention before we go ahead and head out?
That's it for me.
The only thing I would say is, again, kind of echoing your thoughts, man, just one of the great things about this show is you get to hear some contemporary stuff, you get to hear some classic stuff, and the thing I always like to bring up, man, there's no union for these guys, people like Kamala, people like Ivan Koloff. There's no fund set up for them through professional wrestling to help them out when they're not working anymore. So, let's go to Kickstarter, let's go to the GoFundMes, let's go help these guys by supporting their projects and showing them that we still care and we're still fans of what they did.
I couldn't agree more. And on that note, on behalf of Nate and Austin, this is Felix with Pipebomb Radio signing off, saying keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. Good night, everybody. Good night, guys.
Good night, man.
Good night.